to our presentation. We are Yes We Canyon, and we're here to discuss our proposal for our Grand Canyon expedition in the summer of 2023. The way we broke down this project was we started with going in order chronologically of the steps of the journey, starting with packing up in Albuquerque, what we already own and the small items we can bring with us to Arizona. The next step was the drive to Flagstaff. We planned for that to be on September 9th of 2023. We'll use Zion's car since Zion has a hybrid and that'll save us on gas money. Next in the chronological order is the drive from Flagstaff up to the Grand Canyon. For that, we're going to meet with my family who lives in the Cottonwood area of Arizona, and they have a Jeep with a roof rack that can help us move all of our equipment and all of us to the Grand Canyon. The next step is the reason we're there, of course, and that's the 17-day expedition rafting down the Grand Canyon. Next up, at the end of that expedition, there's cleaning and packing up and getting rid of all of our trash that we've accumulated and getting ready to pack up and leave and go back to Albuquerque. And then, of course, that wraps it up with the drive all the way back home to Albuquerque.
So for this group project, we want to make sure that we prioritize our necessities, because we're going to mainly want to make sure we have these items that way we're able to actually have our trip go into smooth progress. So for starters, we want to make sure we prioritize our raft. This will be an 18-foot raft. We want to make sure we have all the right equipment, whether it be rope, duct tape, cushioning, spare oars, anything like that. And of course, we're going to need our permits, those including river permits, parking permits, anything that we may encounter during our trip. And of course, we want to make sure that we prioritize safety. That especially comes in the form of first aid, in which we'll have a large first aid kit for everyone that's within our group, along with any rescue equipment that may be necessary, such as orange blankets, recovery equipment, or anything like that, even satellite phones. So next, we want to make sure that we have our eating situation in order. We want to make sure we have enough food for our entire trip, along with water, and of course any materials needed to prepare that food, whether that be coolers, dry boxes, etc. And also we want to make sure we have our shelter prioritized. With this shelter, it will include tents, any tarps, any sleeping bags. A lot of this stuff is stuff that we already have, so that makes it a lot more easier. As far as waste management, we of course want to make sure we have our buckets, and this also ties into the hygiene or anything like that. We want to make sure that we're able to be a little more clean out there, biodegradable soap, any toothpaste, anything like that that may encounter any issues. Of course, we also have some other little priorities such as fishing license, fishing poles, anything like that. And of course, we need our tools to make sure that we're able to prepare those tents and be able to make sure everything's all situated correctly. And of course, any hand sanitizer that we're able to, just in case we run into any dirty stuff out there, which of course we will. After that, we want to talk about our luxuries. Some of these luxuries may include such as chairs, lanterns, tables, anything that will make our lives a little bit more enjoyable and a little bit more relaxing. And of course, like I had mentioned earlier, hygiene supplies, that could be a mixture of luxury and absolute necessity. And of course, things to wash our clothes, that way we don't stay dirty out there. And with a lot of these materials, we're going to be renting them from a few other sites that we have in mind, along with just in general items that will be taken from Amazon, other places online. And of course, we have a lot of these items at our own disposal.
We're doing.
So for our trip, we also need personal items. Some of these items have already been spoken of by other group members here, but to start, we all need sleeping bags. We need bug, bear spray, sunscreen, backpacks, water bottles, camping chairs like lawn chairs, tents, some of the personal hygiene things as well, whether that be toothbrush, toothpaste, deodorant, waterproof deck of cards, because we need to be entertained and we probably will flip our raft at some point, and of course the magic conch. Magic conch shell. Will I ever get married?
No.
Okay, so moving on to food, we just made some important things to know that no one in our group has food allergies. All team members will take turns with setup, cleanup, and the cooking. And then we added in a nice statistic that states the recommended calorie intake for both men and women. For men, it's about 2,500, and for women, it's about 2,000. But given the amount of physical activity that will be going on during this trip, we expect the caloric intake for everyone to be a bit higher than these numbers. As far as food storage, we're going to have a cooler and we're going to have a couple dry boxes. The cooler will mainly be used the first 8 days of the trip, and we're going to use that for the foods that need to be on ice, and those are the foods we'll eat first. And then the dry boxes, of course, are for the food that will be eaten during the entire duration of the trip. As far as food menus, we went pretty basic for breakfast, just like trail mix or oatmeal, bread, Spam. We're all coffee drinkers. And then yogurt and eggs will be eaten the first 8 days of the trip as well, due to the limited amount of time we have ice. And then lunch and dinner are pretty basic. They're pretty much the same thing, only dinner portions will probably be double due to the amount of activities I previously stated. But options for those are like rice, canned beans, tuna, Spam. And then of course, like snacks, we've got granola bars and trail mix and granola and some chocolate. And just one other important thing to make note of is we're going to make sure that everyone has a sufficient amount of water at all times during the trip. As far as our supply list for our kitchen, everyone's going to be pitching in pots, pans, silverware, plates, bowls, stuff like that. We're going to have a burner and propane, the propane bottle tree. As I previously stated, we're going to have coolers and dry boxes. We'll have cleaning supplies. And then just one last thing that we wanted to make note of is we did all of our shopping from Amazon. We did a lot of it from Costco because Grant has a Costco card, and then a fair amount was done at Kroger as well. Since my parents work for Kroger, they can get things discounted.
Hello. Today I'm going to be discussing with you guys the duties, our roles, and what each member is responsible for on this trip. So, in terms of food, let's break it down. Grant is going to be doing breakfast. He's an extraordinarily good cook, cooks some mean deviled eggs. I'm excited for it. Lunch, we're going to have Natasha. She's going to be cooking some mean Spam. It's really good. For dinner, we were kind of low on rolls, so Timika had to fill that, unfortunately. For the latrine and the trash, we didn't really think it would be fair for any one person to have to manage that for the entire trip. So we're all going to be going through rotations. Everyone's going to get their hands a little dirty, a little stinky, you know. But that's the fun of being in the Grand Canyon. We got, on dishes, we're going to have DeMarco. He is top rated, you know. I've heard expert things about him from Chili's, you know, past employers. Just absolutely top tier. And then for the navigation, guiding us down the river and charge of sightseeing and all that sort of stuff, it's going to be me, Zion, greatest to ever do it. Nextly, I'm going to be talking about our budget, just giving a little quick breakdown. As far as our group items go, you can see that we came in significantly under budget right here. And then for our food items, you can see that we're also in under budget. So if you take these two and you combine them, we're still under budget. And we've got this much left over for emergencies for each one of us.
And finally, we'll wrap this up with a breakdown of our Gantt chart, or as we lovingly call it, our Grant chart. And that's about enough of that. Thank you so much, Grant. So as you can see on our Grant chart, we have our tasks in order, and at the top you can see the days in which we broke down the tasks. These were largely a group effort, so you're not going to see individual names, including this production. As you can see, there are some days missing, like the 28th. That was a Sunday when we just said, it's time for the team to get a little break.